Hello and welcome to another episode of Battlefield 4 live commentary. I haven't really come up with a good name for this series, but it doesn't really matter. What you're going to be in for in this episode is some tanking, and as you can tell, I'm on Siege of Shanghai, just waiting, there we go, for this T90 to spawn in. So, oh, does this guy want to get in? No, he's going to find something else. So the deal is with this series is to just find some interesting maps, and it will all be conquest, I think, on Battlefield 4. Jump on, play in the tank, and try and pull off something. It might be a bit of a kill streak, I'm not really too sure. So starting out, we'll cap the flag, I think. And this is one of the games where you really can PTFO without trying hard. I think Battlefield 4 just naturally lends itself to getting on flags and just capping objectives. Yes, you get snipers that camp on buildings, but definitely with the vehicles, you can, not sure what that guy was doing, just standing still, but you can get on flags and really cap objectives quickly, and that's what sets it apart, I think, from Battlefield 5. And I was going to actually talk about BF5 whilst playing this game. We've got a situation in BF5 where tanks they're not ideal. I mean, some people think they're fun and maybe slightly more realistic than other battlefields, because you can sit back and farm people up, because that's what you do in the Second World War and tanks in general. You don't just race into buildings and objectives and start smashing people everywhere. It's a more methodical vehicle, but for the gameplay purposes, I think I got away, but for the gameplay purposes, you do want to have something a little more interesting. And you want to be in a situation where you can cap objectives. Is this guy going to get out and repair as he is? Yeah, he's actually going to help. And see, that's another thing in BF4. People actually help you more often than you think. Engineers jump in the gunner seat and they actually repair you. Whilst in BF5, most players who are supports don't even realise that they have a repair tool. This tank's in some trouble. Look how he's angled himself against the other tank. Not anticipating me here. He's bailed. That's the end of that tank. But yeah, in Battlefield 4, the objective play is great, and the vehicles are they're just more fun. And I don't know whether it's because they're quick and they're more, I don't want to say skill-based, I think they are more skill-based, but just, for example, in Battlefield 5, when you're angling your tank against somebody with a Panzerfaust, it's virtually impossible to angle it in the right way, with all these weird deflections and stuff like that. In Battlefield 4, you know if you're facing them at a slight angle, you're going to be fine. If you've got your rear to them, you're going to be in some trouble. You've got your countermeasures to do exactly that, counter things such as lock-ons. And you've got a bit of speed as well. So in Battlefield 5, you've got the Panzer 38T and the Staghound. They're fairly quick, and they're a bit more fun. But again, you're at the mercy of some of the... I hide it behind there. You're at the mercy of some of your teammates who will take other tanks, bigger tanks, and it's their job to therefore take out other tanks on the map, other enemy tanks. So whilst in Battlefield 4 everyone can just take what's in the menu, the game is almost balanced for you. In Battlefield 5 you're relying on your team to take the right combination of tanks that complement each other. Everyone can spawn in on Panzerstorm and take an AA tank. Now think about that. Everyone just takes an AA tank and we're getting swarmed here. They must have a beacon up there on the roof. It's the only way they're getting down. But yeah, I feel as if that's one of the major problems in Battlefield 5, if we just try and escape this bombardment. Now we're on fire. Might just get away with this. There's a guy right next to us on the minimap. I think he's above us on the building. We might get away before he drops down. Yeah. But in Battlefield 5, you are relying on your team to help you out and pick the right combination of vehicles, and I feel as if that's too much responsibility for players, and not just bad players or new players, just players in general, because you always tend to pick a vehicle that's good for you, good for getting kills. So I pick an AA gun on Battlefield 4 because I know I'll get kills with it. I know I can take out vehicles, air vehicles, I can take out infantry, I can cap flags, I can go on water with it, I can destroy people with that vehicle, which is incredibly strong, but I don't pick it to help out my team, and that's the honest truth. But because it's fairly balanced in BF4, so you can't all take AA guns, it does tend to help out the team naturally. So I think that's something Battlefield 5 really struggles with, and many people have agreed with me on this, that spawning in on a map like Panzerstorm, you should be set certain vehicles. So there should be 3 heavy tanks, 2 light tanks, and an AA tank, instead of pick what you like. And then on top of that, you also have the problem with specializations. So say we did have that situation where you can pick 3 heavy tanks, 2 light tanks and an AA tank, which is quite balanced, let's say. You'd have to test it, of course, but let's say that was fairly balanced. Somebody could then spec one of their heavy tanks to be a pure infantry killing tank, or maybe they've got the Panzer 38T and they've spec'd it to be an anti-tank 38T, whilst the... Oh, we're immobilized here. This isn't good. That guy's running away. Got him taken down. Just ask for some repairs. I don't want to jump out of the tank here in case somebody nicks it, and that's a problem with this game, but again, it's not a real issue compared to some of the others. But yeah, you're relying on your team to pick the right specializations, which is why I think Battlefield 1 and the variant system is really cool. So there's a lot to learn. I think Battlefield 5 has definitely got a lot of this wrong, but it's up for discussion. I think if we were to list all the Battlefield games that had significant vehicle gameplay, so we're dropping Hardline from it, although it did have a tank in there, but we dropped Hardline from that conversation. Which ones would you say were best? Battlefield 1, I thought it was okay. Battlefield 4, that was really good for tanking. Battlefield 3, I think that was the king. And Battlefield 5 doesn't really get on the list. So, I don't know. The next Battlefield, I really hope that they look back to Battlefield 3 and 4. Maybe the variant system from BF1 and just say this is what we're going for. And it spreads as far as the spawning system in Battlefield 5. You can't get the vehicle you want. You click on it, and if you click too quickly after the game started, you don't get the vehicle. And sometimes you can't even customize the vehicle, or you couldn't for the longest time in BF5. It's one of those where it just hasn't been thought out well, and it hasn't been fixed afterwards properly. We've managed to get 20 kills so far. That's not bad. Yeah, so that's just my little rant on Battlefield 5 vehicles, and it's nice to talk about it whilst you're playing a game that is so good for tanking. And yes, Vehicle Field 4, you know, there's oof, that was close. There's far too much emphasis on vehicles in BF4. I feel the infantry do struggle, but that's as much down to map design as anything else. There's a little point, actually, while we're in this situation. You can see those flares. You've got the problem with thermal, and yes, thermal's OP in BF4, no doubt about it, but flares are really good counters. I'm talking about the handheld flares. Now, someone's just thrown one on me there. If you're pushing a tank and you want to kill him as a squad of 2 or 3 people, which is more than possible to kill any tanker, throw some flares on the floor, and they can't see. If all of you throw flares, and I know this is quite a big workaround to get around somebody who's got thermal, but it works. And if you've also got the dice camo like that guy, in combination with flares and a well-timed shot to the rear of a tank, they don't stand a chance. And for anyone who does play and wants to take down tanks in BF4, it's one of the biggest things they get killed by. That's what you do to kill them. And I can't say I do it a lot, I don't use flares really, but I feel as if a lot of people don't know that combination works. See that guy there, he's just running at me, even with the camo. The flares are above, so I'm not really struggling. This beacon is still above me, I do see that, but it's difficult, and he's actually managed to get that incendiary up there, which is a good shot. And there you saw the spawn-in invincibility, which I think is good. In Battlefield 5 and 1 even, you don't get that because, I mean, there is invincibility, but the map does a weird zoom-in when you spawn. And when you do the zoom-in, you're almost losing out time on that invincibility. So you get a lot of instant deaths when you spawn in those games, and that would be why in Battlefield 4 you just go from where you spawn directly next frame into the map. And whilst in Battlefield 5 you do that weird zoom in thing into the map, and your soldier's standing there whilst you zoom into his position, and you've lost that invincibility. So that's a little thing. I don't know if DICE know about that, but that was something that just exploded. Only did 2 damage though. We're okay. Oh, there's a guy throwing mines though. Again, thermal, really strong. You get to see all explosives. So it's almost a counter against mines and slams and C4 and things like that. So yeah, this has been quite fun on Shanghai. risking the video going on forever, I think we'll just try and play a little more aggressively. I don't know, we've been waiting around on Delta for quite some time, and this is what I like to call tank babysitting. Way back in the day, I used to watch a tanker called Ace, or Tonk Too Strong, his YouTube channel is. Great tanker, competitive player, just awesome. And he used to do this tank babysitting, where he'd just sit there and guard flags for his team, and just get a load of kills, chill out, and just help his team and stay alive. Whilst you see a lot of tankers just race in, cap an objective, and then explode. Yes, you capped an objective, good for you, but the enemy team get it back 2 seconds later, so you have to sit here as a prolonged engagement, wait for the rest of your team to turn up. We're just occupying 10 enemy players here, and it's giving our team a chance to cap other objectives. So this is how you play Battlefield 4. This is what you do in a tank. You occupy objectives, and when the objective's capped, you don't just sprint onto the next one. There you see, we roadkill a guy who's still on the objective, even though we have a cap. You have to babysit the flag and make up for those players on your team that sit on the top of skyscrapers and don't help. So yeah, I've got some experience doing this, and it works. This is dangerous, sitting beneath a building doing some repair work, but as I said, I'm not really too fussed about dying at this point. Just gonna play, see how long it lasts. So maybe now we can move on to the next objective. It looks like we can. Delta does seem to be completely capped. A couple of people have died on it, but it's worth going over. And let's see what's going on. Levolution, again. Shanghai. Fantastic. One of the best things that Battlefield 4 had in terms of a trailer moment. You know, one of these big all-out war sort of scenarios. Levolution was awesome. Will it come back to another Battlefield game? I don't know. It's quite a big thing, isn't it? So maybe it will. We saw a bit in Battlefield 1 with the Sinai bridge that fell down. Yeah, there's bits and pieces. And I suppose in Battlefield 5 you got the V1 rocket. This is always cool to do on Bravo. You can go down here in a tank. There's a guy on the right in there. He might have sneaked away. Just try and get down here. Ah, an MRAP. Doesn't stand a chance. I don't know what he's doing down here in an MRAP. You're not going to survive. He might as well have got out of that and hid in the corner. But again, thermal proven to be extremely powerful versus anybody in this game. It just destroys people. But yeah, I'll probably wrap up the video here. It's been about 12-13 minutes. That's what I like to do for a video. If you did enjoy, let me know down below. Bit of a boring one, to be honest. I hope more would happen, but that's the trick with a live commentary. You don't really know what's going to go on. I might do a couple of these in the LAV, because the LAV seems to be a vehicle that is a bit more entertaining to watch, and I'm fairly okay with the tow missile too, so we'll get some nice clips in that. But yeah, if you want to see that sort of stuff, let me know down in the comments. A couple more live commentaries are definitely going to be on the way once Battlefield 5 gets sorted out, because that game is a mess. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.